Just when tennis fans thought a massive U.S. Open protest was coming, everything changed. Face screaming in fear, Coco Gauff. Aryna Sabalenka and other top players had been at the center of a growing battle with the Grand Slam tournaments over prize money, revenue sharing, and player welfare. But now, after a huge new announcement involving a record-breaking $108 million U.S. Open compensation pool, the protest plans appear to have been called off or put on hold. So what caused this shocking U-turn? Did the U.S. Open finally give the players what they wanted? Or is the bigger fight far from over? Stay with us, because this story could completely change the relationship between tennis stars and the Grand Slams. The tennis world has been watching a major battle develop throughout 2026. On one side were some of the biggest names in the sport, including Coco Gauff and Aryna Sabalenka. On the other side were the 4 Grand Slam tournaments. The central issue was simple, but incredibly important. How much of the enormous revenue generated by Grand Slam events should go back to the players? Top players had pushed for a larger share of revenue, improved player welfare, and a stronger voice in decisions affecting the sport. The dispute had already led to symbolic media protests at Roland Garros and Wimbledon, with leading players limiting media appearances as part of their campaign. Gauff and Sabalenka were among the high-profile stars involved in the broader player movement. And then came a dramatic development. Just days before the 2026 U.S. Open, organizers announced a record $108 million player compensation pool, a 20% increase from the previous year. The singles champions are set to earn $5.5 million each, while first-round singles payouts are also rising significantly. Suddenly, the conversation changed. Could this be the reason the protest plans were dropped? The shocking U-turn. For months, tensions between leading players and the Grand Slam tournaments had been growing. Players were not simply asking for bigger paychecks for the biggest stars. The wider argument included concerns about lower-ranked players, welfare programs, pensions, and having more meaningful representation in discussions about the sport. Aryna Sabalenka had publicly emphasized that the campaign was about more than just herself and the biggest names, arguing that the concerns extended to lower-ranked players and the next generation of athletes. Coco Gauff was also part of the group of leading players involved in the earlier protests. But ahead of the U.S. Open, the possibility of another major protest began to lose momentum. Why? Because the U.S. Open made a massive move. The record compensation package was accompanied by further player support measures, while the 4 Grand Slams also announced plans for a new Grand Slam Player Advisory Council, designed to give players a more direct platform for engagement on major issues. And that appears to have created enough progress for players to step back from immediate protest action. Moneybag $108 million changes everything? Let's be clear, $108 million is a staggering figure. According to the U.S. Open announcement reported by Reuters, it represents the largest player compensation pool in tennis history. The men's and women's singles champions will each receive $5.5 million, while first-round singles players will receive $140,000, with the tournament also introducing a player support program. That is a major response to the pressure that had been building throughout the season. But here's the important question. Did the players get everything they wanted? The answer appears to be no. The larger debate over formal revenue sharing has not simply disappeared. Players have been pushing for a bigger long-term share of Grand Slam revenues, and the newly announced Advisory Council is expected to become another forum for those discussions. So this may not be the end of the fight. Instead, it could be a temporary turning point. Tennis: Why Coco Gauff and Sabalenka Matter. When players like Coco Gauff and Aryna Sabalenka speak, the tennis world pays attention. These are not just talented players. They are 2 of the sport's biggest stars. Gauff is one of the leading American names heading into the U.S. Open, while Sabalenka enters the tournament as the 2-time defending champion and a player chasing a historic 3rd consecutive title in New York. Both are among the biggest attractions in women's tennis. Their involvement gave the player movement enormous visibility. And when stars at their level support a collective issue, tournament organizers know they cannot simply ignore the conversation. That is what made the earlier protest discussions so significant. There had even been talk and speculation around stronger actions if players felt their concerns were not being addressed. But now, the U.S. Open's response appears to have changed the immediate situation. Instead of heading toward a major confrontation, the focus is shifting toward whether dialogue and new structures can produce long-term solutions. A new player council, but will it be enough? This could be one of the most important parts of the entire story. The 4 Grand Slam tournaments have announced the creation of a Grand Slam Player Advisory Council. The goal is to create a formal mechanism for players to have more input into key issues, including compensation and welfare. The council is expected to launch after the final Grand Slam of the season in New York. For years, one major complaint from players has been that communication with Grand Slam organizers needed to improve. Now, a formal council could potentially change that. But of course, the real test will come later. A council sounds good. A bigger prize money pool sounds good. But players will want to know whether these changes lead to genuine long-term influence. Will their voices actually affect major decisions? Will revenue-sharing discussions continue? Will support improve for players outside the very top of the rankings? Those are the questions that remain. What do you think? Did the US Open do enough to satisfy Coco Gauff, Aryna Sabalenka, and the other players? Or is this only a temporary pause before another major tennis protest? Drop your opinion in the comments below. And if you want more breaking updates on Coco Gauff, Aryna Sabalenka, the US Open, and the biggest stories from the tennis world, like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Fire tennis. Because with the US Open just around the corner, the drama is only getting started.